How to speak calm and confident. You don't need to talk louder to be heard. The calmest voice in the room is usually the most powerful one. Introduction. There's something you've probably noticed. In any room, in any conversation, in any meeting, there's always someone who doesn't speak the most, doesn't speak the loudest, but when they do speak, everyone listens. Their voice is calm, steady, unhurried, and somehow, that calm carries more weight than all the noise around it. This is not an accident. It's not a natural gift. It's not something you're born with. It's something you can learn. The way you speak reveals everything, not just what you're saying, but how you feel, whether you're nervous or grounded, whether you're uncertain or sure, whether you're asking for permission or simply stating what is. And people respond to that, not consciously, but they feel it in your tone, in your pace, in the subtle qualities of your voice that you might not even be aware of. This book is not about speaking louder. It's not about dominating conversations or performing confidence you don't feel. It's about speaking from a place of calm, from a place of presence, from a place where your voice naturally carries authority because it's grounded in something real. You'll learn why quiet voices are more powerful than loud ones, how your nervous system shows up in your speech, how a 3-second pause can change the entire dynamic of a conversation, how breathing before you speak creates depth, how lowering your tone raises your presence. You'll learn how to use pauses instead of filler words, how to state things instead of explaining them, how to speak from your chest instead of your throat, how to choose words that build trust instantly, and you'll learn how to sound unshakable when the pressure is on, when you're nervous, when you're being challenged, when everything in you wants to speed up or shut down. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of yourself. The version of you that already exists underneath the nervousness, underneath the rushing, underneath the habit of speaking before you're ready. Your voice has power, quiet power, and you're about to learn how to access it. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why loud people sound weak and calm people lead. There's a common belief that confidence is loud, that the person who speaks the most, who fills the most space, who talks over others is the one in control. But if you pay attention, you'll notice something different. Loud people often sound desperate, like they're trying to convince you, like they're fighting for your attention because they're afraid of losing it. Calm people don't fight for attention. They just have it. When someone speaks loudly, when they rush their words, when they fill every silence with noise, it signals something. It signals nervousness, uncertainty, a need to be validated. They're not speaking from confidence. They're speaking from fear. Fear that if they stop talking, they'll lose the room. Fear that silence means they're not important. Fear that unless they prove themselves constantly, they'll be dismissed. But calm is different. Calm doesn't need to prove itself. When you speak calmly, when you take your time, when you're comfortable with silence, it sends a different message. It says, I'm not worried about holding your attention. I trust that what I'm saying matters. I don't need to rush because I'm not afraid of the space between my words. And people respond to that. They lean in, they listen more closely, because calm is magnetic. Think about the people you respect most, the ones whose words carry weight, the ones you actually listen to when they speak. Are they loud? Are they dominating? Are they filling every second with sound? Probably not. They're probably calm, measured, deliberate, They speak when they have something to say, and when they do, their words land. This is not about being quiet all the time. It's not about speaking less. It's about speaking from a different place, not from anxiety, from presence, not from the need to be heard, from the knowledge that you will be. Loud voices demand attention, calm voices command it. And commanding doesn't mean controlling. It means naturally drawing people in, because your voice is grounded, because your words have space around them, because you're not performing confident, you're embodying it. If you've ever felt like you need to speak louder to be taken seriously, you don't. If you've ever felt like you need to fill silence to prove you belong, you don't. What you need is to slow down, to ground your voice, to let your words carry the weight they already have. Calm is not weak, calm is powerful. And it's the foundation of everything else you'll learn in this book. Chapter 2. The nervous system behind your voice. Your voice is not separate from your body. It's not something you can fully control with your mind, because your voice is produced by your nervous system, and your nervous system reflects your internal state. When you're calm, your voice is calm. When you're anxious, your voice reveals it. Anxiety shows up in subtle ways, in the pitch of your voice, in the speed, in the minor tremors you might not even hear but others feel. When you're nervous, your throat tightens, your breath becomes shallow, your vocal cords tense, and all of that changes the quality of your voice. It gets higher, faster, thinner, less grounded, and people hear that, not consciously, but they feel it. They sense the nervousness, and it affects how they respond to you. This is why you can't just fake confidence with your voice. You can try. You can force your voice to sound a certain way. But if your nervous system is activated, if you're anxious underneath, it will leak through, because your voice is honest. It tells the truth about what's happening inside you. But here's the important part: you can shift your nervous system. And when you do, your voice shifts with it. You don't have to fix your voice directly. You have to calm your system, and your voice will naturally reflect that calm. This is why breathing matters, why pausing matters, why grounding your body matters. Because all of those things regulate your nervous system. And a regulated nervous system produces a calm voice. When you're in fight or flight, when your system is on high alert, your voice becomes a tool of survival. It speeds up because speed feels like safety. It gets louder because loud feels like protection. It fills every gap because silence feels like vulnerability. But when your system is calm, when it feels safe, your voice relaxes, it slows down, it deepens, it has space, it has presence. So speaking calmly is not about vocal technique alone. It's about nervous system regulation. It's about creating the internal conditions where a calm voice can emerge naturally. And that's what the next chapters will teach you. Not how to perform calm, but how to access it. How to regulate your system so your voice reflects the groundedness you want to convey. Your voice is a window into your state. And when you learn to shift your state, your voice transforms with it. Chapter 3. Slow down first. The 3-second rule. The fastest way to sound more calm and confident is simple. Slow down, not dramatically, not unnaturally, just slightly, just enough to create space between your words. And the easiest way to do that is the 3-second rule. Here's how it works. Before you speak, pause. For 3 seconds. 3 seconds of silence before you begin. 3 seconds to ground yourself, to breathe, to settle. It sounds small, but it changes everything. When you pause before speaking, you give your nervous system time to regulate. You give your breath time to deepen. You give yourself time to land in your body instead of speaking from the rush of your thoughts. And that pause signals something. It signals that you're not in a hurry, that you're not desperate to fill the silence, that you're choosing your words instead of reacting. Most people do the opposite. Someone asks a question, and they answer immediately. Someone makes a statement, and they respond without pause, because silence feels uncomfortable, because they think hesitation makes them look unsure. But immediate responses often sound rushed, reactive, like you're not fully present, like you're just trying to keep up. When you pause first, even for 3 seconds, you sound deliberate, thoughtful, grounded. And 3 seconds is not long. It's barely noticeable to others. But it's long enough for you to shift from reactive to responsive, from hurried to intentional. This is especially powerful in high-pressure situations, in interviews, in conflicts, in moments where you feel the urge to defend yourself or prove something. That urge makes you want to speak fast, to fill the space, to explain. But if you pause first, if you take 3 seconds, that urge softens, and what comes out of your mouth is calmer, clearer, more grounded. Try it right now. Before you speak your next sentence, pause, count to 3, then speak. Notice how it feels. Notice how the words land differently. Notice how the pause creates a sense of ease instead of urgency. You don't have to pause before every sentence, but pausing before important moments, before responses, before statements you want to carry weight, that changes how you're heard. Slowing down is not about dragging. It's not about speaking like you're half asleep. It's just about not rushing, about giving each word the space it needs to land. And the 3-second rule is the simplest way to start. 3 seconds, that's all it takes to shift from hurried to intentional, from reactive to grounded, from sounding nervous to sounding calm. Chapter 4. Breathe before you speak. Your breath is the foundation of your voice. If your breath is shallow, your voice will be shallow. If your breath is rushed, your voice will be rushed. But if your breath is deep, your voice will have depth, resonance, presence. Most people breathe incorrectly when they speak. They take quick, shallow breaths from their chest, and then they try to speak from that shallow breath. The result is a voice that sounds thin, strained, like it's coming from the throat instead of the body. But when you breathe deeply, when you breathe from your diaphragm, your voice changes. It becomes fuller, richer, more grounded. Here's the practice. Before you speak, take one full breath. Not a gasp, not a quick inhale. A slow, deep breath into your belly. Feel your stomach expand. Feel the air filling your lungs completely. And then, as you begin to speak, let the words ride that exhale. When you speak on a full breath, your voice has support. It has power without effort. It has depth without strain. And people feel that. They hear the difference. Your voice sounds more authoritative, more trustworthy, more calm. Shallow breathing is a sign of stress. Your body only breathes shallowly when it's in survival mode, when it's anxious, when it's rushed. And when you speak from that shallow breath, you're speaking from stress, and stress is audible. But deep breathing signals safety. It tells your nervous system we're okay. There's no emergency. We can take our time. And when you speak from that place, your voice reflects it. This is why public speakers, actors, singers, anyone who uses their voice professionally all focus on breath. Because breath is everything. You can't have a powerful voice without powerful breath. You can't have a calm voice without calm breath. So before your next conversation, before your next meeting, before you answer a difficult question, breathe one deep breath into your belly. Hold it for a moment, and then speak as you exhale. That one breath will ground your voice in a way that no amount of vocal technique can. Your voice is carried on your breath, so if you want your voice to carry calm, your breath needs to be calm first. Chapter 5. Lower your tone, raise your presence. There's a reason deeper voices sound more authoritative. It's not just cultural, it's biological. Lower tones signal calm, stability, groundedness. Higher tones signal stress, urgency, nervousness, and people respond to those signals without thinking. When you're anxious, your voice naturally rises, your vocal cords tighten, your pitch goes up, and that higher pitch broadcasts your anxiety to everyone listening. But when you're calm, your voice naturally lowers. Your throat relaxes, your pitch drops, and that lower tone broadcasts calm. You can't force your voice to be lower if your nervous system is activated. It won't work, it'll just sound strained. But when you regulate your system, when you ground yourself, your voice lowers naturally, and you can encourage that lowering by consciously relaxing your throat, by speaking from your chest instead of your head, by imagining your voice coming from deeper in your body. Here's a simple exercise. Place your hand on your chest, and as you speak, imagine your voice is coming from that place, from your chest, not from your throat. It's a subtle shift, but it changes the quality of your voice. It adds depth, weight, resonance. Lower doesn't mean quieter. You can speak at the same volume but with a lower tone, and that lower tone will carry more presence. Because presence is not about volume. It's about resonance. It's about the quality of the sound. It's about whether your voice feels grounded or whether it feels like it's floating. Think about the voices you trust most, the ones that sound authoritative, the ones that make you feel like the person knows what they're talking about. They're probably lower, steadier, more resonant, not because those people are trying to sound that way, but because they're speaking from a calm, grounded place. And that place naturally produces a deeper tone. You don't have to sound like someone else. You don't have to artificially lower your voice in a way that feels fake. But you can relax your throat. You can ground your breath. You can speak from your chest instead of your head. And when you do, your voice will naturally lower, and your presence will naturally rise. Chapter 6. The Power of Pauses. Silence is not empty. Silence is powerful. And the people who know how to use pauses are the ones who command attention without effort. Most people are afraid of pauses. They think silence makes them look uncertain, like they don't know what to say, like they're losing control of the conversation. So they fill every gap with words, with filler sounds, with I'm and like and you know. But those fillers don't make you sound more confident. They make you sound less certain, because they signal that you're uncomfortable with silence. But when you pause, when you let silence exist between your words, it does something. It creates weight. It makes people pay attention. It gives your words space to land. because people expect you to fill the silence. And when you don't, when you're comfortable just being quiet for a moment, it signals confidence. It signals that you're not rushed, that you're choosing your words, that you're in control. Pauses also give the listener time to absorb what you've said. When you speak without pausing, when you rush from one thought to the next, people can't process. They're just trying to keep up. But when you pause, you give them space. And in that space, your words have more impact. Here's how to use pauses. After you make an important point, pause for 2 or 3 seconds. Let the point sit. Let it breathe. Before you answer a question, pause. Let yourself think. Let the person asking feel the weight of their question. When you're telling a story, pause before the key moment. Build anticipation. Let the silence create tension. Pauses make you sound deliberate, thoughtful. Like you're not just reacting but responding. Like every word you say is chosen, not rushed. And that makes people listen, because they feel like what you're saying matters. The best communicators are not the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who know when to stop talking, when to let the silence do the work. If you tend to fill every gap, if you use filler words, if you feel uncomfortable with silence, start practicing pauses. In low-stakes conversations, with friends, in meetings, just pause for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and notice what happens. Notice how it feels. Notice how people respond. You'll probably find that the pause doesn't make you seem unsure. It makes you seem more sure, more grounded, more present. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. And learning to pause is learning to wield that power. Chapter 7. Stop explaining, start stating. There's a pattern many people fall into. When they say something, they immediately follow it with an explanation, a justification, a reason why they said what they said. I think we should take a different approach. I'm not saying the current way is bad, but maybe we could try something new. I don't know. Just a thought. That's not stating. That's apologizing. When you cover-explain, when you justify, when you soften your statements with qualifiers, you undermine yourself. You're essentially saying, I don't fully believe what I just said. I'm not sure. Please don't challenge me. And people hear that. They hear the lack of conviction. And it makes your words carry less weight. But when you state something simply, without the explanation, without the softening, it lands differently. I think we should take a different approach. Period. That's it. No justification, no apology. Just a statement. And that statement has power. Because you're not asking for permission. You're not hedging. You're just saying what you think. This doesn't mean you can't explain if someone asks. If they want to know more, you can elaborate. But you don't lead with the explanation. You lead with the statement, because the statement is what people remember. The explanation is what dilutes it. Over-explaining often comes from fear. Fear that you'll be judged. Fear that you'll be wrong. Fear that you need to prove yourself. But ironically, the more you explain, the less convincing you sound, because you're signaling that you're not confident in what you're saying. Confident people state things. They don't need to justify every word. They don't need to soften every opinion. They just say what they think, and they let it stand. This is especially important in professional settings, in meetings, in negotiations, in moments where you need to be taken seriously. If you state your idea and then immediately backtrack, you've lost the room. But if you state your idea and pause, if you let it sit, you give it space to be considered. Practice this. In your next conversation, say something without qualifying it, without explaining it, without softening it. Just state it, and then stop talking. It will feel vulnerable. It will feel like you're leaving yourself exposed. But that vulnerability is actually strength, because you're not hiding behind explanations. You're standing behind your words. Stop explaining, start stating, and watch how people start listening differently. Chapter 8. Speak from the chest, not the throat. Your voice has a home, and for most people, it's living in the wrong place. When you speak from your throat, your voice is thin, strained. It doesn't have depth. It doesn't have resonance. But when you speak from your chest, from your diaphragm, your voice has power, weight, presence. Here's how you know if you're speaking from your throat. Place your hand on your throat while you talk. If you feel vibration there, if your throat feels tight or strained, you're speaking from the wrong place. Now place your hand on your chest and speak again. This time, imagine your voice is coming from your chest. From deeper in your body, you should feel vibration in your chest, not your throat. Speaking from your chest doesn't mean forcing your voice to be deeper. It means allowing your voice to resonate in your body instead of staying trapped in your throat. And that resonance is what creates presence. Most people speak from their throat because they're tense. Their shoulders are tight, their neck is tight, their breath is shallow, and all of that tension pushes the voice up into the throat, where it gets thin and strained. But when you relax, when you drop your shoulders, when you breathe deeply, your voice naturally drops into your chest, where it can resonate. Here's a practice. Stand up, roll your shoulders back, take a deep breath into your belly, and as you speak, imagine your voice is coming from your chest. Place your hand there if it helps. Feel the vibration, feel the resonance, and notice how different it sounds, how much fuller, how much more grounded. This is not about changing who you are. It's about accessing the full range of your voice, the depth that's already there, but that you're not using because of tension and shallow breathing. Speaking from your chest also protects your voice. When you speak from your throat all day, you strain your vocal cords. You get tired, hoarse. But when you speak from your chest, from your diaphragm, you can talk all day without strain, because the sound is supported by your breath and your body, not just your throat. So if you want your voice to carry more presence, drop it down, out of your throat, into your chest. Let it resonate. Let it have space. Let it be supported by your breath and your body. And watch how people respond. Because a voice that comes from the chest doesn't just sound different. It feels different. It feels grounded, certain, calm. Chapter 9. Calm words people trust instantly. The words you choose matter, not just what you say, but how you say it, the specific language you use. Some words create trust, some words create doubt. And if you want to sound calm and confident, you need to know the difference. Words that create doubt are words like maybe, I think, kind of, sort of, probably. These are hedge words. They soften your statements. They make you sound unsure. I think we should maybe try a different approach. Kind of like what we did last time, probably. That sentence is full of doubt, and people hear that doubt. They feel it, and it makes them doubt you. But calm, confident language is direct, certain, clear. We should try a different approach. No hedging, no softening, just a clear statement. This doesn't mean you have to be arrogant. You can be wrong. You can change your mind. But in the moment you're speaking, you speak with certainty. Not because you know everything, but because you're not apologizing for what you think. Another category of words to avoid: filler words. These words don't add meaning. They just fill space, and they make you sound nervous, unprepared, like you're searching for what to say. Replace filler words with pauses. Just silence. It sounds more confident, more intentional. There are also words that build trust. Words like clear, specific, direct, simple. When you use these words, you sound like someone who knows what they're talking about. Let me be clear. Here's what I mean specifically. I'll be direct. These phrases signal confidence. They signal that you're not hiding. You're not vague. You're willing to be understood. Another powerful category: action words. Words that show decisiveness. Instead of "I was thinking we could," say "let's." Instead of "maybe we should consider," say "will." Instead of "it might be good to," say "we will." Action words move things forward. They don't wait for permission. They create momentum. And finally, use fewer words overall. Confident people don't over-explain. They say what they need to say, and they stop. Long-winded explanations make you sound uncertain, like you're trying to convince yourself as much as the other person. But brevity sounds certain, grounded, like you know exactly what you mean. So choose your words carefully. Remove the hedges. Remove the fillers. Use direct, clear, question-oriented language, and say only what needs to be said. Your words will carry more weight, and people will trust them more. Chapter 10. How to sound unshakable under pressure. The real test of a calm voice is not when things are easy. It's when things are hard. When you're in a job interview, when you're in a conflict, when someone is challenging you, when the stakes are high and your nervous system is activated. That's when most people's voices betray them. They speed up, they get higher, they lose their grounding, but you don't have to. The key to sounding unshakable under pressure is not to pretend you're not feeling pressure. It's to regulate your nervous system while you're in it. And you do that through your body, not your mind. First, your breath. When pressure hits, your breath gets shallow. Automatically, your body is preparing to fight or flee. But you can override that consciously by taking one slow, deep breath before you respond. That breath tells your nervous system we're okay. There's no emergency, and your voice will reflect that calm. Second, your posture. When you're under pressure, you might slump or tense up. Either way, your body is contracting. But if you ground your feet, roll your shoulders back, and sit or stand with your spine straight, your body signals confidence, and your voice follows. Third, slow down. The instinct under pressure is to speed up, to get through it, to prove yourself quickly. But that speed makes you sound nervous, reactive. Instead, slow down. Intentionally speak slower than feels comfortable. Pause more than usual. That slowness signals that you're not rattled, that you're in control, that you're choosing your words. Fourth, lower your tone. Pressure makes your voice rise. It's automatic, but you can consciously relax your throat and speak from your chest. That lower tone will ground you, and it will make you sound more authoritative. Fifth, don't fill the silence. When someone asks you a hard question, when someone challenges you, The instinct is to respond immediately, to fill the gap, but pause for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, as long as you need. That pause shows you're thinking, not scrambling, and it gives you time to regulate before you speak. Sixth, use simple language. Under pressure, people tend to overcomplicate. They use big words. They explain too much. But simplicity sounds more confident, more certain. Say what you mean, clearly, directly, and stop. And finally, remember, sounding calm under pressure is not about being perfect. It's about being grounded. You might still feel nervous. You might still have adrenaline coursing through you. But if you regulate your breath, your posture, your pace, your tone, your voice will sound calm even if you don't feel it. And here's the secret: sounding calm actually helps you become calm, because your nervous system takes cues from your body. And when your body acts calm, when you breathe deeply, when you speak slowly, when you pause, your system starts to believe it. You don't have to be unshakable. You just have to sound unshakable, and the rest will follow. Chapter 11. The Quiet Authority Habit. Everything you've learned in this book is a practice, not a one-time fix, not a performance, a practice, and like any practice, it gets stronger the more you do it. The quiet authority habit is this: train your voice every day, not for hours, just for a few minutes, so that when the moment comes, when you need to speak with calm and presence, it's already there. Here's a simple daily practice. Every morning, before your day begins, take 5 minutes, sit or stand, ground yourself, and speak. It doesn't matter what you say. You can read something aloud. You can say your intentions for the day. You can practice a statement you'll need to make later. But as you speak, focus on the elements. Breathe deeply first. Pause before you begin. Speak from your chest. Lower your tone. Use pauses between sentences. Do it consciously, intentionally, and over time those elements become automatic. You won't have to think about them. They'll just be how you speak. You can also practice in low-stakes moments, in conversations with friends, in casual meetings. Anytime you're speaking, you can practice. Pause before you answer. Breathe deeply. Speak from your chest. Notice how it feels. The more you practice in low-pressure situations, the more natural it becomes in high-pressure ones. Another part of the habit: listen to yourself. Record yourself speaking, not to judge, just to notice. Do you rush? Do you use filler words? Does your voice rise when you're explaining something? Awareness is the first step, and once you're aware, you can shift. You can also listen to people who speak with quiet authority, not to copy them, but to notice what they do. How do they pause? How do they breathe? How do they pace their words? You'll start to notice patterns, and those patterns will inform your own practice. The quiet authority habit is not about becoming someone else. It's about refining how you already speak, removing the nervousness, removing the rush, removing the uncertainty, and revealing the calm, grounded voice that's already there. This is not a quick fix. It's a long-term practice. But the more you do it, the more it becomes who you are. Not someone performing confidence, but someone who speaks from a genuinely calm place. Chapter 12. Becoming the voice people listen to. You're not the same person who started this book. You might not realize it yet, but something has shifted. You now know that calm is more powerful than loud, that your nervous system shapes your voice, that a 3-second pause can change everything. You know how to breathe before you speak, how to lower your tone, how to use silence, how to state instead of explain, how to speak from your chest. You know how to choose words that build trust, how to stay grounded under pressure, how to practice this every day until it becomes who you are. And now, the final piece. Becoming the voice people listen to is not about technique. It's about presence. It's about being fully here when you speak, not thinking about what you'll say next, not worrying about how you're being perceived. Just here. When you're present, people feel it. They feel that you're not performing, that you're not trying to impress them, that you're just speaking from a real place. And that realness is what makes people listen. You've probably been in conversations where someone is talking, but they're not really there. They're in their head, rehearsing their next point, monitoring how they're coming across. And you can feel the disconnect. You can feel that they're not fully present. And it makes you less interested in what they're saying. But when someone is fully present, when they're grounded in the moment, when their words are coming from a real place, you can feel that too. And you listen more closely. Because presence is rare, and it's magnetic. So as you practice everything in this book, remember it's not about getting it perfect. It's not about sounding a certain way. It's about being here, fully, when you speak. And when you do that, when you ground yourself in presence, your voice naturally becomes the one people listen to. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to dominate. You don't have to fill every silence. You just have to be calm, grounded, present, and people will turn toward you. Not because you demanded their attention, but because your voice carries something real. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a new way of speaking, a new way of being heard. You already have everything you need. The calm is already there. The authority is already there. The presence is already there. You're just learning how to access it, how to let it come through, how to speak from that place instead of from nervousness or urgency. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes, until one day you realize this is just how you speak now. Calm, grounded, confident, the voice people listen to. Closing. You don't need to talk louder to be heard. You never did. The power was always in the calm, in the pauses, in the grounded presence behind your words. And now you know how to access it. Every time you speak, you have a choice. You can speak from nervousness, from the rush, from the need to prove yourself, or you can speak from calm, from presence, from the quiet authority that's always been there. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional, about pausing before you speak, about breathing deeply, about grounding yourself in your body, about choosing your words, about letting silence exist, about speaking from your chest instead of your throat. The more you practice, the more this becomes automatic, until you don't have to think about it, until this is just who you are. Someone whose voice carries weight, not because it's loud, but because it's calm. And that calm will change how people respond to you. In meetings, in interviews, in conflicts, in every conversation you have. Because people trust calm. They lean toward it. They listen to it. You already have everything you need. The voice is already there. The presence is already there. You're just learning how to let it through. So speak calmly, intentionally, from a grounded place, and watch how people listen. Thank you for being here. End of audiobook.